Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Here's Eddie Frederick.
So glad you can join us. The ECCB wants greater oversight of the process of who is being appointed to banking boards. This story takes the lead in today's edition of Caribbean Perspective for Wednesday, 15th March 2023. Details when we return.
Hubbard's Motor Department Mount Gay and Hubbard's Tire Bay, located at the Building Supplies Compound in Grand Anse, are reminding the motoring public that another round for licensing and inspection has begun. Just arrived on new shipments of quality furrowed and torque tires to fit all makes and models of vehicles at competitive pricing. Shop early to avoid the hassle of long lines. WhatsApp them on 473-405-5482. Hubbard's, quality service, affordable prices.
Welcome back. Governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, Dr. Timothy Antwine, has commended the Dr. Terence Drew-led administration in St. Kitts and Nevis for its tabling of two banking bills, namely the Banking Amendment Bill 2023 and the bill to amend the ECCB agreement in the National Assembly on March 7, 2023, which will help to protect the financial system. Andre Huey of SKN Newsline reports.
While addressing media practitioners in St. Kitts and Nevis as part of the bank's 2023 country outreach mission on March 8th, Mr. Antwine said slow passage of legislation poses the single biggest strategic risk to ECCB's transformation agenda, while outlining several pieces of legislation that are yet to be put into place to protect the financial system.
It would be the Banking Amendment Bill. One of the things that bill does is to clarify the fit and proper criteria for members who sit on boards of our banks or licensed financial institutions. I mean, there are deposits in the currency union of 25 billion. I don't have the number of St. Kitts and Nevis to hand, but obviously it's a few billions as well. National Bank alone, the size of National Bank is a $3.6 billion bank, the single largest bank in the currency union. It's very important, Mr. Williams, that the people who sit on these boards are fit and proper. They have the requisite skill, they have the requisite integrity, they have the requisite commitment to serve as board members and senior management. And one of the things that the amendment does is to require that people who are nominated to serve on these entities are referred to the central bank to ascertain that they are fit and proper.
Governor Antwine said that the amendment addresses the issue of people who have been discharged from bankruptcy.
That amendment also addresses the issue of people who have been discharged from bankruptcy. Because right now, under the Banking Act, if you have had a business has failed, and you've been declared bankrupt, you are essentially banned for life from serving on a board of a financial institution. That life sentence is a bit harsh. And that is not, and that is...
So is it because you have proven that you're not able to manage your affairs, and so you went bankrupt?
Well, you may be bankrupt for several reasons. I mean, some people went bankrupt because of the pandemic.
Yes.
That's totally beyond their control. So best practice is that after a period of time, once you have been formally discharged, there's a legal process where you are discharged as a bankrupt, you can be considered again. So we've modernized the law to reflect those realities. So obviously, if you're not fit and proper, and again, when you're assessing, you look at all of these things: business, police record, standing, a range of issues to determine. But if a business fails, for whatever reason, over an extended period of time, there ought to be a way back, a path back. And the law also provides for.
Several other bills and regulations have been proposed by the ECCB to be tabled in the St. Kitts and Nevis National Assembly or to be put in place to protect the financial system, including the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank Agreement Amendment Order, the Banking Licenses Regulation, Banking Abandoned Property Regulations, Payment System Rules, amendments to the AML-CFT legislation, the Eastern Caribbean Securities Regulatory Commission Agreement Bill, and Investments Fund Bill. I'm Andre Huey for SKN Newsline.
Delegates of the Jamaica Teachers Association, the JTA, at a specially convened virtual delegates conference held on Sunday, voted to accept the latest wage package offered by the government. 80% of the delegates accepted the wage offer following the last offer that was refused last week. Teachers across the island recently staged a sit-in demanding better wages. This CVM Live News item has more.
Accepting the new wage offer on behalf of the teachers were 629 delegates, or 80% of the 784 eligible voters. Rejecting were 147, or 19% of the eligible voters. Abstaining were 8 persons, or 1% of the eligible voters. Just last month, at another delegates meeting, 560 of them rejected the offer, while 24 accepted. Last week, teachers in various schools across the island protested by way of a sit-out as a means of garnering attention from the government. Following the vote, the JTA, through the Secretary General, Dr. Mark Nicely, wrote to Minister of Finance, Dr. Nigel Clark, conveying the wishes of the delegates who represent the 78 district associations island-wide. On Monday, President-elect of the JTA, Leighton Johnson, signed off on the new agreement at the Ministry of Finance and Planning. Johnson says the agreement comes as a relief to teachers.
Of course, having signed an agreement that teachers have been waiting for some time, I believe the teachers have, or we have fought long and hard in the best interest of our teachers. So I believe on the basis that the minister has given us an undertaking that as much as is humanly possible, we will be getting our retroactive salaries at the end of this month. I believe teachers are elated at this point.
He sought to provide clarity relating to the absence of the current JTA president, Lasagna Harrison.
It's not the usual route, but on the basis that the articles of association that govern the Jamaica Teachers Association indicates that in the absence of the president, then the president-elect will have to deputize. And that is just what happened here this afternoon. Mrs. Harrison indicated her unavailability, so I had to, in the best interest of our teachers, make myself available to complete the process.
Johnson further added that though teachers would prefer an even better wage increase, they're appreciative of the last-minute response from the government. Javid McLean, CVM Live.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick.
The Bahamas' Director of Labor speaks on the granting of work permits.
Labor officials clamping down on the issuance of work permits to foreigners in favor of qualified, available Bahamians in various sectors. Director of Labor Robert Farquharson says his department has recently denied labor certificates in both the tourism and construction sectors, insisting qualified Bahamians should be priority. Some 10,000 work permits are granted annually for skilled labor. The director hopes this number is significantly reduced.
Particularly in the construction sector, in the tourism sector, and on the financial services sector, the government is committed to filling these vacancies with Bahamians that are available. Section 86 of the Employment Act says that the Department of Labor should not issue a labor certificate if they are satisfied that there is a qualified and available Bahamian to fill their jobs. And many times people have come to us carrying on and arguing because we deny applications.
In the meantime, the Bahamas Tonight of ZNS News reports on the 2023 presidential elections in China. Anthony Smith, on assignment in China, fills us in.
A rather historic day here at the Great Hall in Beijing, China, as leader of his party, Xi Jinping, for the third time secures the presidency of the People's Republic of China.
The vote taking place at the third plenary meeting of the country's 14th National People's Congress. China's 2,900 plus deputies placing their ballots ceremoniously and unanimously in favor of President Jinping. Cameras capturing the moment those in key leadership roles are reshuffled. In a few ceremonial exchanges after that, President Jinping takes the oath. The communist leader's third victory comes after China's legislature in 2018 moved to abolish the presidential term limit, the occasion making Jinping the longest-serving head of state in communist China's history.
Now, China's first session is expected to continue to the end of this week. A premiere is expected to be made on Saturday. In Beijing, China, for the Bahamas Tonight, I'm Anthony Smith.
Former Attorney General of Trinidad and Tobago Gavin Nicholas reacts to the call by the DPP and the Law Association for more staff at the office of the DPP and the response from the Attorney General. Gavin Nicholas, who served as Attorney General for just over 4 months, from February 3, 2015 to June 17 that year, was speaking on TV6 Morning Edition. Nicole M. Romney has more.
Director of Public Prosecutions Roger Gaspard last week stressed the need for more staff at his office, warning that failure to properly resource the office of the DPP could result in the collapse of the justice system. AG Reginald Amore has said that the government is not deliberately under-resourcing the DPP's office and that by blaming a shortage of staff is not a satisfactory explanation for underperformance. However, Mr. Nicholas tells TV6 that the situation could have been handled differently.
The DPP's office has always complained about being under-resourced. Now, since 2015 to now, we have seen an escalation in crime in Trinidad and Tobago. And therefore, if it is that the state is to prosecute criminals, then obviously you need to have more resources placed in the hands of the DPP, not less. So that to just dismiss the DPP when he calls for more resources, I think is certainly not good practice.
He notes that the office of the DPP is critical to the justice system.
Because if, for example, a police officer does his job or the police is working extremely efficiently, and all of a sudden you have a crime-solving rate of 100%, the burden that then falls on the DPP's office to prosecute those criminals is extremely high. And if it is that you need, on a given day, 200 attorneys, which is actually not a huge amount of attorneys given the size of the DPP's office, and you only have 60, that tells you immediately that you are setting up the DPP's office for failure.
Mr. Nicholas also weighed in on the call for DPP Roger Gaspard to tell the population why a building in Port of Spain rented by the state for use by his office remains unoccupied. Last week, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley told a political meeting that a building rented for use by the office of the DPP is still vacant due to several requests to make it more secure, including outfitting it with bulletproof glass and a wall.
And there is a whole issue with regards to the protection and safety of attorneys in the DPP's office that should be also addressed. But if you're going to put these attorneys in a building that the special branch deems to be unfit, then that's setting up the DPP to be sued. And quite honestly, I'm quite flabbergasted that the government or the Prime Minister, the Attorney General, would be blaming the DPP for not securing a proper building.
DPP Roger Gaspard and the Attorney General are expected to meet this week for talks. Nicole M. Romney, TV6 News.
Hubbards is once again innovating the way you shop with its new online store, providing 24-hour shopping convenience. You can shop now for appliances, hardware, houseware, building material, and more. Free delivery island-wide. Start shopping now at hubbardshardware.gd. Safe, convenient, reliable.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please continue to log on to CaribbeanPerspective.com for more daily news and more.